Good morning, people of Holden and Dala. On this Labor Day weekend, we're ending our summer series on the road trips and journeys of the Bible. And today we hear the story of the Apostle Paul on his journey to Damascus. It comes to us from the book of Acts. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground, and he heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting," he replied. "Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They had heard the sound, but did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus. For 3 days he was blind and did not eat or drink anything. In Damascus there was a disciple named Ananias. The Lord called to him in a vision, "Ananias." "Yes, Lord," he answered. The Lord told him, "Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street and ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying. In a vision, he has seen a man named Ananias come and place his hands on him to restore his sight." "Lord," Ananias answered, "I have heard many reports about this man and all the harm he has done to your holy people in Jerusalem. And he has come here with authority from the chief priest to arrest all who call on your name." But the Lord said to Ananias, "Go, this man is my chosen instrument to proclaim my name to the Gentiles and their kings and to the people of Israel. I will show him how he must suffer for my name." Then Ananias went to the house and entered it. Placing his hands on Saul, he said, "Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus, who appeared to you on the road as you were coming here, has sent me so that you may see again." And he filled me with the Holy Spirit. Immediately, something like scales fell from Saul's eyes, and he could see again. He got up and was baptized, and after taking some food, he regained his strength. The word of the Lord. Well, this summer, we've been thinking about road trips of the Bible. And over the summer, so many of us think of traveling, of journeys we can make. Lately on Facebook, I've been seeing questions pop up about travel, asking questions like, "What is your favorite place you have ever been to?" Or, "If you could go anywhere in the world and cost wasn't an obstacle, where would you go?" So, where would you go if you could go anywhere? And what would your dream journey be? Over the past 3 months in worship, we've considered the various journeys and road trips of the Bible. From Abraham's faithful journey from his homeland to an unknown destination, to the Israelites wandering in the desert, to the wise men journeying to see the child Jesus, the journey Jesus took to the cross, journeys of faith fill the pages of the Bible. This morning, as we conclude our summer series about road trips of the Bible, we hear about the journey that the Apostle Paul makes to Damascus that forever changes his life. Now, we know that Paul's journey to Damascus was not a vacation of any sort, it was a business trip. He was sent from Jerusalem to Damascus with a very clear and powerful mission to find the followers of the way, also known as Christians, and then to arrest them. Saul, or Paul as he is often known, was a Jewish religious leader. He was described by today's reading as breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. Saul, also known as Paul, went to the high priest and asked for letters of introduction to the synagogues in Damascus. not so he could be someone who was a positive force in their lives there, but so that if he found any people who belonged to the way, any people who were followers of Jesus, men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. Saul is not going on a trip here to see the sights of Damascus. He's not planning on a relaxing vacation at the beach. He has a purpose, a mission, and a dangerous one at that. The Bible doesn't give us many details about Saul's exact trip, but maps from the time and other accounts of military travel tell us that the distance from Jerusalem to Damascus was anywhere from 130 to 150 miles long, depending on the route that he took. So if Saul and his companions were traveling by foot, that would have made the journey about 2 weeks long to complete. Yet Paul's journey was not simply a geographic journey, it was also a spiritual journey. On that journey, he encounters the risen Lord who speaks to him, asking, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? On that journey, Saul loses his vision for 3 days. Imagine being a man whose job is to read the Torah, and his eyes are covered with scales, and he has to rely on the direction and help of his traveling companions. On that journey, Saul is also healed by Ananias, a Christian. His eyes are opened and his heart is changed forever. On this journey, Paul travels 150 geographical miles, but his heart is changed even more dramatically. Saul, or Paul, is changed from focusing simply on the rules and regulations of the Jewish people to over time being the apostle who spreads the gospel of Jesus far and wide beyond the religious community to the Gentiles, to those who all needed to hear of Jesus. Paul was transformed from a man of anger and murderous threats to a man who proclaimed God's loving grace every chance he had. Paul journeyed from that man who was determined to arrest Christians to end this movement of people who believed in Jesus, to a man who proclaimed Christ and Christ's salvation wherever and whenever he could, starting churches, preaching, baptizing, writing letters, even proclaiming Jesus from jail. Without Paul's journey of faith on that road to Damascus, the Christian faith as you and I know it today would be very, very different. Now, you and I have all been on journeys in our lives, geographic journeys, journeys of faith, intellectual journeys, journeys of discovery. And so this morning, as we conclude this summer's reflections on road trips of the Bible, take some time to consider. Like Paul, what journeys have you taken, literally, physically, spiritually, that have changed you forever? What journey is God calling you to make? I'm going to close with a Celtic blessing. The Celtic Christians were those Christians who lived in England, Ireland, and Scotland around the 4th and 5th centuries with a deep tie to St. Patrick. Celtic Christians were Christians who were grounded in the earth, but also who journeyed tremendously. This is a Celtic blessing called the path. God bless the path on which you go. God bless the earth beneath your feet. God bless your destination. God be a smooth way before you, a guiding star above you, a keen eye behind you, this day, this night, and forever. God be with you whatever you pass. Jesus be with you whatever you climb. Spirit be with you wherever you stay. God be with you at each stop and each sea, at each lying down and each rising up, in the trough of the waves on the crest of the billows, each step of the journey you take. Amen.